Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, the news hit late last night like an absolute hurricane. I'm talking category 5. The cultural political left has now suffered a major defeat. Late night television host, he's supposed to be a comedian. He's not funny, hasn't been funny in many years. He's just a cheap propagandist for the Democrats. Jimmy Kimmel was effectively fired by ABC. To be more accurate, his show has been preempted indefinitely. They are going to pull his show off the air. And this comes on the heels of what happened to Stephen Colbert, another liberal smear merchant, another mouthpiece for the Democratic Party, who lost his show just, what was it, a couple weeks or a month ago. So what you're starting to see now, is that the left is starting to lose its grip on the commanding heights of culture. This is something that has been key to the left's ability to shape debate, impose its will on America and on American society, their control of culture and the institutions of popular culture. That grip is now loosening, and now they're on their heels. What it is also showing is that the blowback, the backlash against those on the left who, to me, I will never forget till the day I die, how so many, not just on social media, not just ordinary Democrats and progressives and liberals, millions of them across the country, but how many in the universities, professors, how many of them in the medical field, say doctors, nurses, teachers in education, government bureaucrats, civil service employees, openly celebrated, cheered on, joked about the political murder of an innocent American because they simply didn't like his ideas. Professors now are being let go for comments that they've posted on social media. You have doctors, even surgeons now being pushed out, nurses being pushed out, teachers now being forced to step down. This is happening all over the country. Jimmy Kimmel is now the biggest and most prominent of those who have now fallen for their reaction, their callous, cold, savage reaction, their disgusting, vile reaction, their mocking of the assassination and death of conservative civil rights icon Charlie Kirk. On Monday, now I want you to think about the context. On Monday evening, remember now, Kirk was killed over a week ago, last Wednesday. The country was in mourning. The country was in absolute shock and disarray. There was fear that political violence could continue to spread. You had already people now getting in serious trouble, losing their jobs, having their careers ruined because they couldn't help themselves and were openly cheering and glorifying the death of Charlie Kirk. Yet this liberal moron went on his show, and he's a diehard anti-Trumper. Jimmy Kimmel has Trump derangement syndrome, and he's had it for years. His hatred for MAGA, his hatred for Trump, his hatred for Trump supporters was so powerful. His hate was so all-consuming that this vicious, hateful man couldn't contain himself. He went on the show, and this is what he said. Roll cut 8, Mike.
Some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Honestly, unbelievable. The moment when I read that he had said that, right away I said to Grace, and a couple of my friends. I said right away, I said, this guy's finished. I said, I'm telling you, he's not going to recover from this. Unless the next day he goes and makes a formal apology and a full retraction. I said, this guy's career is finished. Finished. And he refused to apologize. He thinks there's nothing, to this day, even after being fired last night, he still thinks there's nothing wrong with what he said. Now, he added insult to injury by saying this. There is a screenshot. This was Monday evening. There is a screenshot, a clip of Trump talking about the new ballroom. He was asked about the new ballroom. In other words, the president has to continue doing his job. So he's got many things still on his plate. He can't just stand around and be crying and mourning over the death of Charlie Kirk. He's going to be attending his funeral. He's been speaking out passionately and eloquently about it. He's now saying what he's going to do to try to go after left-wing domestic terrorism. But, he can't just sit around all day and just do nothing. So the media keeps asking him questions about foreign policy, about the Russia-Ukraine war, about Gaza, blah, 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 blah. They asked about the ballroom. So Trump gave an update on the construction of the ballroom. Listen now to Kimmel. Vicious, hateful. I'm telling you, the guy's a scumbag. Roll cut 8A, a mic.
In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
I mean, by the way, this is what this guy did for years. This is just a taste of what this guy did for years. The problem now is he did it at the wrong time. And now it's finally caught up to him. So this wasn't comedy. This is not funny. He hasn't been funny for God knows how many years. This is hate. This is left-wing hate. And that's why his ratings, if you can believe it, were even worse than Stephen Colbert's. So let me tell you exactly what happened, because now the left, when I say they're going apoplectic, they are losing their minds over ABC's announcement now that they're pulling Jimmy Kimmel's show off the air. They're saying this is an assault on the First Amendment. This is an attack on free speech. This was orchestrated and organized by the White House. That this is now Trump. Apparently, it's his Reichstag fire. I'm not kidding. This is it now. He's now going to launch his Nazi takeover of America. It starts with Jimmy Kimmel. Van Jones, that propagandist and liar, that smear merchant, ran onto CNN on the phone. He was on with Aaron Burnett last night saying, quote unquote, this is a red line for the media. A red line for our industry that has now been crossed. Free speech is now dead. Really? Okay, let me tell you what really happened. What really happened is that the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, Brendan Carr, came out and said, after those despicable comments, that he now is going to look at potentially revoking the broadcasting license of ABC. And the reason, he said, was very simple. You violated what is clearly in the FCC charter. That was propaganda. That was a blatant lie. And he knew it was a blatant lie. Jimmy Kimmel was not let go because he was telling truth to power, as the left is now claiming. Where was the truth? The killer, Tyler Robinson, the assassin, was not MAGA. He was not a Trump supporter. This was not a MAGA political assassination. Are you freaking crazy? We know, because he told his parents what his motive was. He told his lover what his motive was. He wrote his damn motive on a piece of paper and in text messages. This had nothing to do with him being MAGA. So now he's a right-winger? Now Tyler Robinson is a right-winger, according to this liar. He lied. He lied. And the reason why he lied was because he wanted to incite even more violence. He wanted to pin this grotesque murder and assassination on Trump and on Trump supporters. And so ABC executives were now confronted. Either we lose our broadcasting license, or we dump this guy whose ratings, I kid you not, are in the toilet. He was losing ABC money. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me ask all of you, the great audience of Kuhner Country, should Jimmy Kimmel have lost his show? Should his show have been pulled off the air for the comments that he said about Charlie Kirk, about President Trump, about MAGA, about Trump supporters, Monday evening in the wake of Kirk's brutal assassination? Let me just play you the shortcut again. This was him, Kimmel, Monday evening. By then, everybody knew Tyler Robinson had been the shooter. He was arrested. Pretty much everybody knew his politics, that this was a man of the radical left, that this was an act of left-wing terrorism, his ties to his transgender roommate, his so-called boyfriend who's transitioning to a girl or a woman, who's also a furry, and that he was consumed with hatred for Charlie Kirk and everything that Charlie Kirk stood for. This had nothing to do with MAGA, nothing to do with Trump. And yet he went on the air and lied. I mean, blatantly lied in the most despicable, disgusting way possible. Roll, cut, 8, one more time, Mike. Play it again, my friend.
Some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
Yeah. By the way, who's scoring political points from this? I mean, on top of the fact that it's a brazen lie about who the shooter is and his political affiliations, who's scoring political points off of this? I mean, just pouring now gasoline on the fire. And so here is what happened. He wouldn't apologize. The blowback kept growing and growing and growing to the point that it was clearly a crisis. And so Nexstar, which is a media giant, they own 32 ABC-affiliated stations, most of them in very big markets and mid-sized markets. The president of Nexstar, this was Tuesday evening, came out and said, we don't want to carry Jimmy Kimmel's show anymore. What he said was beyond the pale. It was a violation of everything that is good and decent, and we want nothing to do with him anymore. That this is not what this country needs at this time. This is inciting more violence and mocking the assassination of an innocent American, plus he's lying. And that we could lose our license because he lied. So we don't want anything to do with him. Once Nexstar cut him loose, it was almost inevitable. These were some of the biggest markets in the United States. Now, this is the key that you have to remember about Kimmel. Kimmel, like Colbert, and all these late-night comedians, Jimmy Fallon, they're all next now. They make no money. They're not Johnny Carson. Carson made everybody money. Why? Because Carson never injected politics. I mean, he'd make the occasional political joke, but it was good-natured, it was good-humored, it was both sides. he never politicized his show. He never made his show a political platform, especially for one party to go out and destroy another party. That's what Jimmy Kimmel and the others, Colbert, you can run right down the line. These are not comedians. These are political propagandists. They're Democrat activists masquerading as comedians. So the problem is they don't appeal anymore to mainstream Americans the way Johnny Carson did. Their ratings are, when I'm talking in the toilet, I mean they're in the toilet. The only people that ended up watching the likes of Jimmy Kimmel are those on the very far hard left. And if you even, at this point, if you even try to change and say, well, let me broaden out the audience, let me try to go more to the middle, the people that are your base will then leave you. So he almost had a perverse incentive, like Colbert. Just keep getting even more strident, even more extreme, even more militant, even more anti-Trump, more anti-MAGA. And so he becomes even less funny and less appealing. You see, it's like a downward spiral. Frankly, many newspapers are in that same crisis. Okay, like the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Boston Globe. I could run down the list. So, and their subscriptions are dwindling. Their readership is dwindling because they're not a serious newspaper anymore. They're just a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party. Okay, but let that go. So the problem with Kimmel, and I think this is ultimately what brought him down. This is not even a free speech issue. What brought him down, he wasn't making ABC money. In fact, he was hemorrhaging ABC money. He has an outrageous salary. What was he getting paid? $15, $20 million a year to spew this dreck? And so ABC executives, when they saw that Nexstar was turning on him, when they saw the public was disgusted and had enough of him, and faced with the prospect of losing their license, looked around and said, we've been looking for an excuse to get rid of this guy. This is it. Take it. And that's why they got rid of Jimmy Kimmel. Now, if the guy had half a brain, seeing the atmosphere in the country, seeing what was happening to so many other people, just shut up. Just shut up. But he couldn't help himself. He had to lie. He had to mock. All right, let me ask you, the lines are jammed. I'm going to go right to the phones. Let me ask you, double-barreled question. One, did ABC/Disney, because ABC is owned by Disney, so ultimately Disney signed off on this, did ABC Disney do the right thing in letting Jimmy Kimmel go and pulling his show off the air? Yes or no? And the left, Democrats, the media, they are going crazy. They're losing their minds, saying this is now the shutting down of free speech. This is now a violation and assault on the First Amendment. Do you agree or disagree? Is the decision now to can Jimmy Kimmel? Are we now looking at a breaking point when it comes to the First Amendment? I say these people are insane, but that's me. I want to hear from you. 617-266-6868. Michael in Florida. You're going to kick us off, Michael. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Very good. After last night's news, you know, I feel very bad for what happened to Charlie Kirk and his family, but I got to say, there's justice, and this is now a reckoning, my friend. But there's a silver lining, and the silver lining is the left, I've never seen them now. They are taking a beating, and Jimmy Kimmel is now their latest casualty. So, yes, I'm feeling good, Michael. There is a God.
Yes, sir. Well, as a former alum of McGill University, like you, good to talk to you this morning. Jimmy Kimmel got what was coming to him. His brash and straightforward hatred towards the right finally came to light. And I appreciate Disney, which I have no affinity for Disney, but Good riddance, and it's a new day in America for, the establishment to really take a look at the people who are their voice. And, our voice has been silenced for too long here on the right, if I can say that. Of course, I'm looking out the window here. I may get shot myself. But good riddance to Jimmy Kimmel. A voice is great. The First Amendment is great. And I thank God for my founding fathers for giving me that voice. But Jimmy Kimmel was a voice of the left, straight up, just a voice for the left. And good riddance, and thank heavens for Disney for making the right decision.
Oh, I agree with you, Michael. Not 100, but 1,000%. Look, many conservatives have been pointing this out. This is not original on my part. You look at the First Amendment, and I revere the First Amendment. I think it's really, literally one of the greatest, amendments ever. I think it's one of the greatest principles enshrined in law in the history of humanity. But the First Amendment is crystal clear. What the First Amendment says, in a nutshell, is that the government cannot arrest you or put you in jail or imprison you for what you say. As this happens in Russia or China or Iran or in Cuba or North Korea or in dictatorships all over the world. It doesn't say you have a right to your own show. It doesn't say, well, you can say whatever you want and your employer just has got to suck it up. No, that's not what the First Amendment says. He worked for a private company. Okay? Now, there was a public aspect to it. It had a broadcast license. But he signed a contract like I did. And there's a morals clause. And in that morals clause, they say, well, your conduct is almost anybody who works in media, you have to sign a morals clause. So just to give you an example, if I engage in certain, not that I ever would, but I'm just explaining, if I ever engaged in certain sexual activity, I'm gone. I can say, well, Jeff, that's my private life. That's part of my morals clause. If I conduct myself in a certain way, even though if it's in private or, off hours, the company iHeart has a right to fire me. So what I'm saying is he violated his morals clause. I think inciting violence and mocking a political murder of an innocent man, if that doesn't get you fired, I don't know what will. So, his hatred caught up with him. And he was stupid. And now he's paying for his stupidity. But you don't have... Now, look, I'll tell you this. By the way, all this idea of censorship, I'm telling you, he's going to have a podcast by the end of the week. He's going to have his own podcast. It's so obvious. I think it's going to bomb like a show because there's no difference between him and MSNBC and CNN. And they're all these shrill, hate-filled voices on the left. So he's not funny. If he's not funny, who wants to listen to this guy? But the point is, he can go on X, he can go on social media, he can write an op-ed for the Los Angeles Times, he can set up his own podcast. Hey, he's got so much money that he's made over the years. He can buy his own radios, he can buy radio stations, he can say whatever he wants. But ABC has First Amendment rights too. Nexstar and Disney, they have First Amendment rights too. And when they listen to what you're saying, they're like, no, dude, no, you're not worth us losing our broadcast license. No, you know what, dude? Maybe people like you are the problem. Maybe people like you are inciting violence in our country. And maybe your reaction shows you just don't get it. You don't get it. A guy like Tyler Robinson most likely would watch a show like Jimmy Kimmel. That's where he got his sick ideas. That Charlie Kirk was a Nazi and a fascist and a racist and a hater and that all Trump supporters are fascists and Nazis because that's what Kimmel spewed night after night, week after week, year after year. So I'm sorry, you're not guaranteed a job. You have to have a professional code of conduct at work. And it's not even what you say. You know, I could get fired for how I dress. And rightly so. You know, you come into the studio, any place to work. There's certain standards. I'm sorry, look, if you're going to walk around with your shirt off, well, it's my right. It may be, but not on my dime. I have a right to enforce a certain code of conduct. So you can get fired for your attitude. You can get fired for your dress, you know, how you dress. Certainly you can be fired for stuff that you say. Of course. Do I want someone who openly celebrates, you know, murder? The killing of innocent people? No. You're a psychopath. I don't want you around my customers. I don't want you around me. I don't want you around other coworkers. Bye. Bye. Michael, am I wrong? Final word to you.
No, sir. Marketing 101. I mean, you know, he represented a company, and I say in past tense because he's fired. He's fired. But, you know, the representing a company, how you dress, you know, people are prejudiced. I hate to use the word prejudice, but they prejudge. How you dress, how you conduct yourself is, again, marketing 101, and good riddance to Jimmy Kimmel.
And don't let the door hit you on the way out. Michael, thank you very much for that call. No, you hit the nail on the head. Okay, the audience on fire, already on fire. This is from Kyle on Messenger. Jeff, the left doesn't understand the difference between freedom of speech and freedom from consequences. Kimmel can still say what he wants to. He just can't say it on ABC. Kyle, you're completely right. Absolutely, completely right. Okay, this is from, by the way, you can text the Kuhner man, 70470, 70470. This is from 617. Jeff, regarding Jimmy Kimmel, his firing doesn't go far enough. Perhaps your audience is not aware, but Kimmel does not write his own quote-unquote material, nor was he improvising on his feet. These shows are scripted to the word, to each pause and breath. Someone else wrote it, likely a small team. Kimmel, of course, approved it, and these monologues are typically even rehearsed. Wow, really? I didn't know that. So they actually do them a couple of times before they go on air? Wow. Well, this makes this thing even worse, to be honest. Anyway, 617 ends with, they should all be fired. I agree. I mean, then you're really stupid. I mean, now you're really stupid. I mean, I thought this was just him, a monologue, and his emotions got the better of him. But I mean, if this is all written out for him and he goes through it and then he's practicing it and rehearsing it, then he's really dumb. He's really dumb. Okay, one more, and then I'm going to go back to the blazing phone lines. This is from 603. Jeff, wait a second. The left is now saying that this is a violation of free speech? You mean the same left that defended social media outlets for shadow banning, censoring, and deplatforming millions of conservatives for voicing their opinions by saying, quote, these are privately owned businesses. They don't have to uphold the First Amendment. And because they're not the government, so they can't violate free speech, they can remove whomever they like, unquote. As my good friend Jeff Kuhner likes to say, what's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. That's one of my favorite expressions. And in this case, man, is it pertinent. It's right on. I mean, it's so spot on. And just here's the cherry on the sundae. Tell me, was Chuck Schumer crying? Was Elizabeth Warren crying? Because that's what they're doing now. Was Nancy Pelosi crying? Was Van Jones and CNN, were they crying when, remember Rosie O'Donnell? And by the way, the show that she was on was a #1 hit. Unlike Kimmel, who's bleeding them cash, okay, losing money hand over fist, she was making them money. And I mean a ton of money. Remember, under pressure from Obama, Disney and ABC fired Roseanne Barr. Remember they fired Roseanne Barr? Because of comments that she made about Valerie Jarrett, off-color comments on was it a Twitter post or whatever it was? And they said, no, that's when the cancel mob, that's when all these woke liberals descended like bats out of hell and said, fire her, get rid of her, cancel her, destroy her. And ABC said, bye-bye, and they cut her loose. Now, the very same people, literally, who championed the firing of Roseanne Barr, now are turning around and saying, how dare you do this to our Jimmy? What comes around goes around. 617-266-6868, or, as the Kuhner man likes to say, what's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. You can't complain now. You wrote the rules. This is the rules that you wanted. This is the rules that you've imposed on conservatives and Trump supporters for years. Now, we're just applying them to you. Sal in Worcester. Thanks for holding, Sal, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, Jeff. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Sal?
I'm good. How was your summer?
Well, it was great until I shattered my ribs.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
That's okay. I was on a trip. I was on a trip in Croatia, in the ancestral motherland. And even then, the trip was great. And then I got on this bus, and this idiot bus driver, I mean, it was a double-decker. And I was just going up the stairs to get to my seat, and the guy just takes off, the bus driver. And I mean, he hits the gas pedal like the Indy 500. And then he slams on the brakes, and I literally fly off the steps, slam against the wall on my left side, and I tumbled all the way down the stairs. Anyway, long story short, I did a lot of damage to my left ribs. Kuhner man's been really sore the last couple of weeks, but I am getting better, slowly but surely. But thank you for asking, Sal.
You're welcome. So I wish you a speedy recovery.
Thank you. Thank you,
So
Sal.
let me ask you, this has nothing to do with the First Amendment. Totally, 100% nothing to do with the First Amendment. The First Amendment is alive and kicking, and thank God for that. Let me ask you a question. If I start swearing, are you gonna block me off, or are you gonna?
I have to.
Or you're gonna let me swear?
I mean, I have
why
to,
is
Sal.
that?
Well, because the FCC, I would be fined literally millions of dollars.
Correct. Now, if I go on the street, in this country, we have, believe it or not, a communist party. No one's shutting them down. Is that this is a problem with ethic. If you represent a business, you have a certain standard to indulge or oblige. Hence, you can't say whatever you want. It's got everything you say has consequences. Look what happened to when in the summer of love, when the Ryle Rittenhouse drove to protect his father's business and had to defend himself with a rifle that was legally allowed to carry. The media right away pushed the narrative that a white guy shot a couple of Afro-American persons. There was not even one black person involved in that shooting, and obviously it was acquitted. And but right away, if you are holding a platform, you have the responsibility to be as neutral and as possible. Journalists nowadays, they don't print news. they spread their narratives on what the news should be. And some weak brainwashed people who don't know how to do their own research fall into the trap, and then this is what happens. The problem in this country right now, it is a mental health issue. There is a mental health issue. They have been labeling us since Donald J. Trump descend from the escalator in the Trump Tower as Nazis, fascists, homophobic, xenophobic, the whole vocabulary of the worst names we could be called. They don't even know what is the mean of Nazism and fascism. My grandfather...
Sal, you've hit the nail right on the head. Look, you're completely right. This has been going on now for 10 years. And now we're living with the consequences of it. They have unleashed a form of hatred, irrational, as you put it, mentally ill. Really, it's a form of, it's Trump derangement syndrome. It's really now a mental illness. And, we're Hitler. We're authoritarians. We're Nazis. We're fascists. We're white supremacists. We're racists. We're bigots. Remember, we're a threat to democracy. That we want to take the whole, somehow we want to overturn free elections? We want to ban political parties? This is the kind of garbage they're spewing. And it's incitement. And now people are acting out on this incitement. And they're naked lies. And they know they're naked lies. And they just keep lying and lying and lying with the intent to inflame. That's the thing. It's with the intent to incite. They're trying to mobilize their people to hate us so that we will be intimidated and eventually allow them to just take power. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And, you mentioned when you work for a business, you're completely right. You're obligated to hold up all kinds of professional standards. Look, if you're in a business meeting, you can't tell a client to go F himself. I mean, the company would say, what are you doing? You say, well, freedom of speech. Not on my dime. You just lost us a client. And you made us look horribly bad. It's to say, look, yes, I have editorial independence. That's one of the things I fought for very hard on this show. But I can't say the F-bomb as an example. Why? Because I'm going to get fined millions of dollars. That's why. Obviously, hello. And if I keep swearing and they don't censor me, i.e. bleep me, then it's going to be more and more. And eventually, I'm going to bankrupt the freaking company. So, obviously, you have the First Amendment within reason when you work for an employer. Now, look, Jimmy Kimmel is free to say anything he wants. No one's going to put him in jail. So what's his problem? You work for ABC. They cut your check. You signed a contract. It's got a morals clause. And you see, they got so used to saying anything they wanted, Sal, with impunity, that they almost feel, actually, he feels entitled. I'll tell you what the New York Post is reporting. Okay, this was like at midnight last night. So this is what they reported last night at midnight, that Kimmel now is talking to his agents and his producers, and that he is, quote unquote, their words, the F-bomb, that he is effing livid at ABC, saying how dare they let me go, that he now wants out of his contract, that he wants nothing to do with ABC. In other words, he's the victim. He's the victim. So imagine the gall of this guy. Okay, you want to talk about a typical entitled liberal jerk, a narcissist, typical moonbat. Let me get this straight. They're paying you $20 million a year. You lose them money. They're losing millions of dollars on your show because you turned your show into a political platform. It's not comedy. You're basically a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party. And you've been using your show for years to spread pure hatred against Trump and his supporters. You're losing the company millions of dollars. You're now destroying their brand. They're now faced with a massive backlash that could cost literally the company their license. The whole damn company could go bankrupt. And you're the victim? Because you mocked the death of an innocent man and lied and said it was done by someone who was a supporter of Trump, that he was a MAGA, when everybody knows it's the exact opposite. So what? You can lie with impunity? You can destroy people's lives with impunity? You can bankrupt your company with impunity? Buddy, if I'm the president of ABC, I'm like, buddy, who the F do you think you are? Out. And look, don't cry for Jimmy Kimmel, everybody. He's worth way over $100 million. Okay? This guy, by the way, just so that you know the kind of sleazebag Jimmy Kimmel is, Mr. quote-unquote comedian, he plans a lot of his shows, literally with Chuck Schumer staff. When they rolled out Obamacare, Chuck Schumer's people worked with Jimmy Kimmel's people to make fun of Republicans who were opposing Obamacare. When he makes jokes against Trump year after year, night after night, he works with Chuck Schumer's people to make fun of Donald Trump. He's a political hatchet man. That's what this guy is. No wonder nobody watched his show. That's not funny. His show wasn't funny. It's just listening to an angry liberal tell everybody night after night, I hate him, and I hate his supporters. I hate him. It was poison. It was toxic. Honestly, it was boring. And now this loser who lost his company, God knows how much he cost him in ratings and millions of dollars. Now this guy who's worth over $100 million, and you want us to cry for you? Nah, I don't think so. Nah, I don't think so, Jimmy. No, it's okay. Jimmy will be fine. He's got 4 mansions, 25 cars in his driveway. Trust me, Jimmy Kimmel's going to be okay. Don't cry for Jimmy Kimmel. He's going to start his own podcast. Don't worry. Jimmy will be flopping his mouth till the day he dies. Sal, thank you very much for that call. Don't worry. Nobody's silencing Jimmy Kimmel. Betty in Quincy. Thanks for holding, Betty, and welcome.
Jeff, how's it going? We're so happy to have you back. I hope your ribs are feeling better, my friend.
They are. They're starting to get a little bit better. Thank you, Betty.
Yeah. Hey, so amen and hallelujah. This is long overdue. 1,000%. He should have lost his job. He should have lost more than that a long time ago. He should have lost his shirt. I mean, this guy is not funny. And, you know, Jeff, during these dark times, everybody needs a good laugh, you know? And since when did they pay you for doing a bad job? I mean, my mother used to say the weatherman, they're wrong all the time. They still get paid, but... And this guy, you look at him, I think they're so green with envy. I mean, he can't hold a candle to Charlie Kirk, to Donald Trump. I mean, it's just, look at Charlie Kirk was larger than life. What a life. I mean, what a movement. What a blessing to our country. And getting all the young kids involved. They could never even fathom of doing anything like that, Jeff. I mean, the only thing is hate. That's all they have. That's the only card they have to play. And you know what? It's so overdone. We're all tired of it. The hatred. They lost their soul. They lost their freaking minds. And I'm done. And this is a great day. I think we should all celebrate.
I'm with you. No, honestly, I'm with you. These people have been spreading hatred and poison and bile on the air against us, to be frank. Against us, against conservatives, against Republicans, against Trump, against Trump's supporters, Trump voters, for years. I mean years. They're conditioning people, they're indoctrinating people to hate us to the point now that we're being hunted. And so every single one of them, out. This is, man, we are so far from Johnny Carson, it's not even funny. Really, honestly. You know, you're right. He couldn't hold a candle to Charlie Kirk, but this guy's supposed to be a, quote, late-night comedian. He couldn't hold a candle to Johnny Carson. Hell, he couldn't hold a candle to Jay Leno. Not that I'm saying Jay Leno was great, but Jay Leno was leagues better than this guy. You know, or David Letterman, another one. I'm not crazy about him, but better. I'm telling you, much better. Because they were at least funny. I'm telling you, they could be funny. You could actually laugh. This guy, miserable. How are you worth hundreds of millions of dollars with a show that has hardly any ratings? And, you know, you live in Southern California, beautiful weather. You have multiple mansions. I'm talking every sports car under the sun. And you're this miserable and full of hate? Like, what a pathetic loser. I'm telling you, just as a human being, what a loser. Now, look, Betty, I'm just being candid with the whole audience, okay? God is my witness. He is so privileged, he has no idea. Do you think if I had his ratings that I'd be on the air? I would be gone. I would have been gone years ago. The only reason why this show is on the air are two things. I'm telling you, two things. One, the ratings. Thank the Lord, we always have sky-high ratings. And two, because this show makes iHeart money. I'm not bragging. I don't want to curse myself. I'm just telling you the truth. We're not in the red. We're in the black. And that's why I keep telling the audience, please, I know there's a lot of commercials. I know some of you get frustrated, but the commercials are what keep the show on the air. Because I'm making iHeart money. Jimmy Kimmel was in the red. So you've got no ratings. Nobody wants to listen to your dreck. And you're losing the company money? And by the way, you're making an outrageous salary of $20 million a year? And when you glorify and mock the assassination of an innocent man? 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just a quick update for everybody, because this is really this whole week and even last week, since obviously last Wednesday, really has been devoted to Charlie Kirk. And I think no one deserves it more. And so tonight, Boston, Kuhner country, conservatives, MAGA in Massachusetts, in New Hampshire, in Rhode Island, we're going to be mourning Charlie Kirk. I wish I could be there. My ribs, as you know, I can barely move around the house, but I will be with all of you in spirit. So there is a vigil tonight for Charlie Kirk. It starts at 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. till 10 p.m. Now, it has been moved. It was initially going to be at the Boston Common, the gazebos. It has now been moved to the steps of the State House. So literally just right across from the Boston Common, where we normally have our rallies. And the reason why it was moved, it's actually good news, is there's going to be a very big police presence tonight. The organizers told me that the Boston Police Department reached out to them, and they said, look, we want to make sure there's no problems, there's no incidents whatsoever, that those who will be attending this prayer and candlelit vigil will feel absolutely safe. There'll be complete security. So there's going to be a very heavy police presence for security for people who attend. And they say it's much easier to provide a real ring of protection and security if you're going to be at the steps of the State House. So it has been moved to the steps of the State House. Please, if you do go, be aware of that. It starts at 7 p.m. sharp. It will last for about 3 hours till 10 p.m. What I'm urging everybody, please, if there is some crazy leftist that shows up or some, moonbat, and they start yelling, screaming, insulting, saying the most vile, heinous things, just ignore them. Please do not engage with them. Keep it peaceful. Keep it nonviolent, obviously. That's what Charlie Kirk would have wanted. Charlie was about peace. He was about open civil discourse and about freedom of speech. So if some of these idiots do show up, there'll be a lot of police there to begin with, but just ignore them. Don't, just like they're not there. And just go on with the vigil because Charlie deserves it. And to honor and commemorate his memory, and frankly, to pray not just for him, but for his family, for his wife, for his children, and really for our country. 617-266-6868. Okay, remember, we talked about this during the height of the plandemic, during COVID. We mentioned Kimmel and the disgusting comments that he said. But this is from 508. And 508 is reminding us what Kimmel said during COVID. And remember what he said. Quote, Jeff, remember what Kimmel said about all of those who didn't want to take the poisonous mRNA injections, the jab. I'm basically paraphrasing, but in one monologue he said, and I remember this, if an unvaxxed person comes to the emergency room with, say, a heart attack, quote, let Wheezy die in the hallway, unquote. I remember that distinctly. That if you didn't take the jab and suddenly you were brought, whatever, something is wrong with you, anything, stroke, heart attack, whatever it may be, and they bring you into the hallway, into the emergency room, just leave you there to die. As he put it, I remember, let Wheezy die in the hallway. That's the kind of bile. This is comedy? This is supposed to be funny? That's the kind of sewage that came out of Jimmy Kimmel's mouth. And as the texter says, he should have been fired for that. Oh, yeah. He should have been fired for God knows how many things he said. 617-266-6868. But you know the expression, better late than never. Okay, this is from Larry on Messenger. And this is what Larry writes. Jeff, all these people who are screaming bloody murder over Jimmy Kimmel being quote-unquote canceled are hypocrites. If they actually watched his show, his ratings wouldn't be in the crapper. You know, that is a great point. All these people now that are yelling and screaming, Jimmy, Jimmy, he's victim of Trump, censorship, First Amendment. If all of you watched him, his ratings wouldn't be in the toilet. Maybe they wouldn't have let him go because he'd actually be making the company money. But anyway, let that go. Larry goes on to say, Jeff, you're not going to believe this. The left is now calling to boycott ABC, Hulu, and Disney. I find this hysterical. I don't know. Disney may be the most pro-left-wing corporation in America. ABC and ABC News. I don't know if you can get more anti-Trump than them. David Muir, how he rigged the debate against Trump with Kamala. That's ABC News. Steffi Stephanopoulos, Jonathan Karl, Martha Raddatz. Remember, just what was it over the weekend? Matt Gutman. It was the ABC reporter that went on about the text exchange messages between the Kirk murderer and his lover, boyfriend / furry. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, we're probably going to talk about it later on today's show. If not, we'll definitely talk about it tomorrow. But lost in the news of Jimmy Kimmel essentially being fired by ABC. To be accurate, his show has been pulled off the air, preempted indefinitely. Essentially, his show is finished. And it was because of the vile things that he said in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, especially his disgusting rant, so-called monologue, Monday evening, and his refusal to apologize or retract what he said. However, President Trump, last night on his way back from the United Kingdom, has now designated, listen to this, Antifa, finally, yes, baby, he has designated Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. So finally now, Antifa is going to get the domestic terror group treatment. They are now going to be subject to massive investigations. There's now going to be RICO. RICO charges are going to be filed against those who fund Antifa, their donors, i.e. George Soros and his son, Alex Soros, are now in big, big trouble. And many Antifa members now are going to be arrested, and they're going to be charged as domestic terrorists. So that is a massive development last night. Winning. That's all I can say. 617-266-6868. Anthony in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Anthony, and welcome.
Rest in peace, Charlie, but I got to say, yeah, baby. Bye-bye, you scumbag. Jeff, I don't know if you remember your Trump rally that we had in 2016, but Kimmel blasted me and my kid because I had made the mistake of sitting next to his other scumbag puppet, Jake Bird, in the audience, and he made all kinds of fun of us. And my kid ended up getting ridiculed and mocked out of school because everybody hated Trump because of what people like Kimmel said. So I've been waiting for years for this loser to lose his job. But everybody keeps on going on about freedom of speech. And believe me, I do not agree one bit with what Alex Jones said. But he got sued for billions of dollars because he said that it was a hoax. So why can't we sue Jimmy Kimmel for saying that it's somebody else than who it was? Because it's an active, ongoing investigation, and he's actually interfering in that investigation by deflecting away from the real people who are involved.
That's an excellent point. I didn't even look at it that way, Anthony, but that's an excellent point. And he's lying. I mean, he's just blatantly lying. And what he's doing is, again, he's inciting hatred against Trump supporters by saying we were the ones responsible. We were the ones behind the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which is insane. Like literally, it's insane. So according to the left and idiots like Kimmel, MAGA wants to kill MAGA. I mean, this is like, it's so stupid. It's not even funny. But no, I want to go back to something that you said earlier, Anthony, about what he did to you and what he did to your son. And I remember that. And this is what I'm saying. This is the kind of man he was. He was, he was scum. There's just no other way. He is scum. There's no other way to put it. Consumed with hatred, really just despising anybody who supported Trump, would do anything in his power to attack them, vilify them, villainize them, ruin their life. And now, call me crazy, Anthony, this is karma. You know what they say? Karma, I can't say the word. Karma's a bee. What comes around goes around. And I think it's his hatred. Really, the fact that this guy is so evil and so consumed with hate and Trump derangement syndrome, it's his own hatred now that has brought him down. What say you, Anthony?
Jeff, they couldn't find anything to pin on MAGA Republicans. I don't know one single MAGA Republican. Yes, there might be some gay Republicans, but I don't know one single trans furry lover. No, I've never even heard of a Republican that's a trans furry lover, okay? But they have to insert their actors into our crowds and yell that we want veterans to die on the streets because Trump wants to cut Medicaid. Okay, they have to invent stuff like we're a bunch of racist Nazis because, we support the Second Amendment. He had to invent stuff. And the sad part of all, Jeff, is the liberals turn to this guy for basically their news like we turn to you for the news. The difference is that you're just telling us the news. This guy is inserting comedians and actors and on-the-road interviewers to paint a picture that the left believes is real. They believe that about us. Right now, I can't even talk to my own father because back when the Trump thing was, when everybody thought he was dead because he didn't speak for like 3 days, my father made a post on Facebook saying, I'm waiting for the big fat obituary. I could tolerate your hatred for my party, but when you're wishing death upon people, I'm done. I don't even really want to hear what you have to say anymore because you're scum. As much as we disliked Obama, as much as we disliked Hillary, we might have wanted her locked up for the crimes that she committed, but we didn't want her dead. We didn't want some psychopath to sniper shoot them dead on the streets. And I would still feel bad if somebody did that to Obama or Clinton or any of the other bigwigs that are lying, have been lying for years about me. Like, you're sick in the head if you wish that. And I've said it before on your show. There's nothing left for me to unite with the other side. Nothing. You can't name anything other than we share the same flag.
And they hate our flag. The flag that we share, they hate. Very powerful, very eloquent. Anthony, I agree with you 1,000%. And look, just to add to what you're saying, and that's all I can do is add to it. Look what they're doing now. Even in the wake of Kirk's murder, his assassination, they're literally making stuff up about what he said. They're going on about how he supported slavery. He never supported slavery. What are you talking about? Or that he apparently supported Jim Crow. He never supported Jim Crow. And you have that Washington Post editor and columnist. She got fired for this. She literally made up a quote. She fabricated it. Where she writes that he says that black women have smaller brains than white women. He never said that. 617-266-6868 is the number. Jimmy Kimmel bites the dust. News broke late last night. Disney, ABC are now pulling his show. It's going to be preempted permanently, indefinitely. According to the New York Post and the Daily Mail, they are now saying that producers, agents close to Kimmel say, their words, he is, quote, blanking livid. Kimmel now refused to apologize or retract what he said about the shooter, saying it was a MAGA shooter, a Trump supporter who assassinated and killed Charlie Kirk, in a vile monologue Monday evening, mocking the assassination of Kirk. And for this, immense blowback, tremendous backlash. ABC, Nexstar, and ultimately Disney said it's time to cut him loose. Your reaction, good move, bad move, and what do you say now to the argument being made by the left, liberals, and the entire Democratic media, including the Democratic Party, actually, that this firing of Kimmel is a fundamental assault and violation of the First Amendment? As Van Jones on CNN put it, a red line has been crossed. Has it? Julie in Boston. Thanks for holding, Julie, and welcome.
I find this whole thing ironic with Jimmy Kimmel's high, holy, moral attitude, and he supposedly espouses the beliefs of the Democratic Party. When he got his start on TV with the men's show and women jumping in bikinis on trampolines, and the song that he and Sarah Silverman did with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, but yet he supposedly is the one we're supposed to listen to and believe?
Well, you're dead on, Julie. And just to add, remember, he's the one that the basketball player, Karl Malone, he imitated him and he mocked him and he put on blackface. You know, he what is it? He put, marked his, colored his face black and started to try to talk like a black guy. And he made like thick lips. And I mean, you want to talk about a nakedly racist skit. And I mean, that's Jimmy Kimmel. That's Kimmel. And this guy, and I mean, when I say he made money, you would, and the guy was never funny. He never had talent. I agree with Trump completely. Trump weighed in on this. Even in the United Kingdom, at 2 a.m. there, he weighed in saying, finally, what took ABC so long? This guy has no talent whatsoever. And this guy for how many years now? And we're talking 15, 20, $25 million a year because he was a Hollywood leftist. And he did their bidding. And now he finally crossed the red line. He finally said something that's so beyond the pale that they finally had to cut him loose. But Julie, make no mistake about it, and I promise I'll give you the final word. If he was making them money, if he had good ratings, if this guy had him in the black and not in the red, they still would have stuck with him. I'm telling you, they would have stuck with him. His ultimate crime in their eyes, and this is what's really sick, is not that he mocked the assassination of an American man, an innocent American, a father, a husband, a son, never mind a conservative icon and civil rights leader. But his real sin is that they were looking to cut this guy loose for years because the ratings were so bad and there was no revenue. So they were losing money with this guy. As I said, hand over fist. To me, and by the way, that's the same for ABC News or all the other news divisions. They lose them so much money because they've alienated so many of their viewers. That, by the way, is same thing with late night comedy. Jimmy Fallon, who's still on the air, and I think he's next, okay? Jimmy Fallon has terrible ratings. Seth Meyers, the other clown, he's got terrible ratings. Colbert has horrible ratings. And Jimmy Kimmel was the worst. His ratings were lower than their ratings. That's what, Trump made that point on his Truth Social post. He said, you know how bad Kimmel was? He goes, Colbert's ratings were nothing. And this guy was less than nothing. And you're going to pay him $20 million a year? And by the way, as someone said, he doesn't write his own jokes. I'm like, what are you paying him for? He's just a pitch man. So he doesn't write his own jokes. He's got a team. So his people write him the material. They script everything for him. All he's got to do is come on and just deliver his lines. And you're paying him $20 million a year? And what? Really, what did he say that, I'm not kidding, Rachel Madcow on MSNBC wouldn't say? Or Larry Stop the Hammering O'Donnell? Or any mouthpiece on CNN? In other words, I'm watching him to what? I can watch the DNC. I don't need to watch this guy. So I'm listening to a crazy, a hateful leftist, a political fanatic, every night spew how much he can't stand Trump supporters. And that's all he does is just mock us and hate us and mock us and hate us. And now he mocked the murder of an innocent man. And he's running around claiming he's the victim. Julie, how this guy ever rose is beyond me. But honestly, there's finally justice, and this guy is gone. Final word to you.
I can honestly say I have never watched any of the night shows that you mentioned, and I'm proud to say that because they're all disgusting and hateful people.
Julie, if I'm getting too personal, please tell me. Did you ever watch Johnny Carson or Jay Leno or David Letterman? I'm just curious.
I thought Johnny Carson was hysterical. Yes, I watched him. I would watch Jay Leno. It seemed like we got away from comedy, and that's the whole issue. Is Carson was all about making you laugh. These late night hosts are all about pushing their agenda and the Democratic agenda. It's not about fun and lightheartedness anymore.
You hit the nail right on the head. Right on the head. Julie, thank you very much for that call. I grew up watching Carson. I mean, not every night, but I watched him quite often. I thought he was hilarious. And as Julie put it, it was fun. It was lighthearted. And yeah, he'd make the occasional political joke, but it was in good fun, and it was both sides. And it was like, one or two jokes, and that's it. It's not monologue after monologue after monologue after monologue. Angry, yelling, screaming, shouting, literally foaming at the mouth. And then I just didn't think Jay Leno was as good as Johnny Carson. He was to me almost like a poor man's Carson. But even then, I got to say, he could be funny at times. It still was, kind of lighthearted. I thought Letterman was worse than Leno. But even then, I would watch it occasionally, and sometimes I would chuckle or laugh. But I did notice it was declining. But then after that, I'm like, this is just like watching Chuck Schumer do a late night show. No, really. Or Jasmine Crockett or AOC or Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren. Jimmy Kimmel, I'm telling you, was like watching Bernie or Elizabeth Warren with a late night show. Like, I'm like, where's the comedy? Where's the comedy? It's just Republicans evil, Trump, Hitler, and his supporters Nazis. And it's like, hate him, hate him, hate him, hate him. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye. And you get paid $20 million for this? 6-1. Now, if you delivered ratings, I'd say, well, okay, he's got the ratings. He couldn't even deliver that. Victor in Georgetown. Thanks for holding, Victor, and welcome.
Tuna Man, great show as usual.
Thank you, Victor.
And I just want to say Kimmel and Colbert swim with the fishes, and good riddance to them. Just a side comment before I make my point. Respectfully, I hear people say, oh, he's transitioning from a male to female, which is impossible. What's really happening is they're transitioning away from being a male, which is a big difference, because arguing that they're transitioning from a male to a female goes along with the narrative that the left and the the would-be, whatever they call themselves, furries or whatever. It's like Tarzan.
Well, no, you're making an excellent point. No, you're right. It implies that he can reach the point of being a female, which he can't. I mean, it's impossible. He can't. So you're right. So, we can say, quote, transitioning, I guess. I like transgender boyfriend / furry personally. But no, you're dead on, Victor. You're completely right. Victor, let me ask you about Kimmel. They're making such a big deal about it. I'm going to play a cut from Schumer, just because it's embodying what how the left is reacting to this. But they're going after ABC. They're saying Trump is behind all this. He forced the firing of Kimmel. Kimmel got fired for speaking truth to power because he opposed Trump and the Trump administration, the Trump regime, and that this is really a violation, an abrogation of the First Amendment, that the First Amendment has now been shut down. It is dead, according to the left. What say you?
Well, like Van Jones, you just can't believe these people. They're communists, and Van Jones is a self-admitted communist. So I say that, on the record, on his record, I don't buy into the argument. Here's what I think is really happening. ABC and Disney are better in. And I think they've read the tea leaves, and they know this next election is going further to the right. There's going to be less left control that they have enjoyed for the last 50 years, and they are making adjustments. And you were right, Jeff, when you said Kimmel should have known, hey, there's bombs going off everywhere. Maybe I should be paying attention. No, he just stepped on it, and it gave them the right to get rid of him. They're getting rid of these people because they don't work anymore. American people, because of people like you and a lot of the podcasters, are waking up, and they're not listening to this drivel anymore. They're sick and tired of them arguing the arguments that they do, and not the people's lives improve. group. Notice that their arguments are never anything to improve the working man's life. And the working man has finally woken up and saying, I hate this. I hate the direction that the country is going. And ABC and NBC and CBS are they're shifting gears because they know that they're going to get run over if they don't start adjusting to the American people. And it's thanks to people like you, Jeff.
Oh, thank you. And I think you nailed it. I really do. You can see, and I said this after the assassination of Kirk. I said this, you can see it's, pardon the pun, but it is a turning point, like his group, Turning Point USA. And something fundamentally has been transformed and changed in the country. And something snapped in middle America. You can just see that. We're not going to take it anymore. What people are doing now is what I've been asking people to do for 10 years. Speak out. Like, really speak out. And now Office Depot is firing people. Universities are firing people. Hospitals are firing people. Schools and are firing people because there's so much pushback. And that's what brought Kimmel down. There was such massive pushback. And look, I got to say this about Greg Gutfeld. By the way, I don't watch late night comedy at all. I haven't in, at least 25 years. Okay. I never watched a show of Jimmy Kimmel. I just would have clips for, when I would do show prep. But I never actually watched his show. I have no interest. I don't watch Greg Gutfeld. Nothing personal against the guy. I don't have time. I'm always show prepping, especially at that time of night. I'm up show prepping. So I don't watch late night comedy. But the thing that shocked me about Gutfeld is here's a guy who's not a professional comedian. He's very funny, but he's not a professional comedian who's on a cable network. Cable. He's not on CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox, as in Fox, the big channel, not Fox News. So he's not on all of these affiliates and stations across the entire country. You don't get cable. You don't have satellite TV. If you don't subscribe, you're not going to get Fox News. And he was annihilating, slaughtering Kimmel, Colbert, Fallon, all of them in the ratings. He was destroying them. And I'm like, to me, as a professional, if I'm a comedian, a late night comedian, I'm like, hold on, let me get this straight. I've got all these stations around the country carrying me. And this guy on Fox News at 10 o'clock at night is destroying me in the ratings? Slaughtering me? Like, we got to pick up our game. Hey, come on, this is ridiculous. Nothing. And then the other point that Gutfeld made, and I think he was completely right, that it was so stupid on the part of Kimmel. Read the room. People are getting fired now left, right, and center. The country will not tolerate making light of murder. The country will not tolerate comparing Trump supporters to Nazis. The country will not tolerate celebrating or mocking or gloating over an assassination. It's costing careers everywhere. And you go and do it? Days and days after we knew who the shooter was or is? Days and days after we knew exactly what his motive is? It screams transgender, radical, left-wing terrorism. I don't know how much... You have the bullets. You have his own words. You have the engravings on the bullets. You have his own parents, his own relatives, his own family members. Hell, you've got his own confession. And you still hate us so freaking much. You're so blinded by your hate that you go on national television and knowingly lie and say, MAGA struck again. This was a MAGA shooting, a MAGA killing. It was MAGA who shot him, a MAGA guy. You're freaking sick in the head, man. Like, you're delusional. You're sick. You're mentally ill. There's something that's not right. And that's when ABC said, cut this guy loose. Seriously, what are we keeping him for? To continue to lose money? We're going to have 0 people watching us? And that's when they said, bye. Bye. And think about it. ABC was faced with a choice. Either we lose our broadcast license, which means the whole thing goes kaput, we go bankrupt, or we keep Kimmel on. Well, it's a no-brainer. Jimmy or our license? Jimmy or our license? I'm going to go with the license. Victor, thank you very much for that call. No, look, the zeitgeist, it's a great German word. The overall culture, the cultural vibe, the cultural dynamics have now completely changed. You can see that. The left is on defense, and they know it, because now they've been unmasked. And it wasn't, I really want to be clear about this. Their fatal mistake is not just that they shot and assassinated an innocent man, but it was the reaction. It was the celebration. It was the cheering. It was the attempt to justify it. And I think almost like a self-defense mechanism for the country kicked in. Like a preservation instinct, where the country said, no, if we continue, this is going to tear the country apart. You're going to see political assassination after political assassination after political assassination. We have tolerated these radical leftists, these violent leftists, this culture of hate for too long. The left is now losing the culture war. There's no question. In the wake of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, middle America has now been awakened, and they have awakened a sleeping giant. And you are seeing it now in institutions, professions, all across the country. Those that are mocking Charlie Kirk or cheering or celebrating or glorifying his political assassination, or even now calling Trump supporters Nazis and fascists. They are now being forced to resign or fire. And the most high-profile, prominent example of this is, of course, Jimmy Kimmel. He mocked Charlie Kirk. He lied, expressly lied, about the murderer of Charlie Kirk and his political affiliations, saying that he was a MAGA supporter, which was an absolute falsehood, a blatant lie. And now he's gone. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Mark in Lowell. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Hi.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, with regard to this Jimmy Kimmel thing, as far as I'm concerned, it was the right thing to do, but he's been doing this, like you said, since 2016. And the only reason he was allowed to do it is because there was no political or government overseeing of the FCC for anyone on the left. So when the FCC finally said something to ABC, and ABC has already been sued by Trump, and FCC is now saying, hey, you guys are going to lose your license. I think that was the overall writing factor, because you already know when you lose a point in your ratings, there's a severe meeting saying, hey, what's going on?
I'm what point? Mark, I wish it was a point. A quarter of a point. I'm not kidding. It's like panic, panic, panic. And again, I don't want to go on about what, inside baseball and what goes on behind the scenes. But, and you come in and you're like, yeah, but the ratings are still really, really high. And they're like, but it went down by a quarter of a point. Okay, it's not at, it's not an 8.0. It's a 7.75. And they're like, well, no, like, what's wrong? And this guy is just, what 8 share? What 7 share? This guy didn't have a 1 share. I'm like, who's watching this guy? And, Mark, you're right. It's their change at the FCC. Brendan Carr is the new guy. And he's the one that called up ABC and said, no, I'm sorry. He lied. He didn't just lie. This is political incitement. You're inciting violence. This has got to stop. This has got to stop because more people are going to get killed. We're done with this. And ABC couldn't afford to lose their license because, I mean, that's it. It's over. Mark, I want to just get your reaction on this. One of the first media people to lead the charge in defense of Jimmy Kimmel was Van Jones. And as someone said, a self-avowed communist, a professional propagandist for the Democratic Party. Now, and then CNN, Aaron Burnett was saying, oh, that's why Jimmy Kimmel was fired. He spoke truth to power. And they're now pushing this conspiracy theory that this is the hand of Trump. That Trump, who is still, by the way, in the United Kingdom. I said earlier that he flew back last night. My apologies. That was wrong. He's flying back today. So my bad on that. He's flying back today. But anyway, that from the United Kingdom, he pushed ABC and Disney to fire Kimmel. There's no evidence for any of this. No evidence whatsoever, but that didn't stop him before. But the narrative now they're pushing is that this was Trump silencing a truth teller, silencing an opponent, i.e. Jimmy Kimmel. And of course they're lying. And what got Kimmel done, what put the kibosh into Kimmel's career, was that he lied. It wasn't truth to power. It was a lie. Tyler Robinson is not MAGA and never was MAGA. His father is MAGA, and he said he hated his father for being a diehard Trump supporter. And so Kimmel lied. Now, Van Jones has been caught in an undercover media sting operation where he was talking to people who were undercover journalists who pretended to be admirers of his and, big moonbats, hardcore leftists. And so he let his guard down. Now, this was at the height of the Russia hoax when CNN and the other media were pushing it really hard, during Trump's first term. Van Jones admitted, he said, oh, it's a nothing burger. He goes, no, between you and me, it's all, I can't say it. It's all bullcrap. It's just, we're just making it up. We're just making it up. It's a complete nothing burger. And then after he says it, and not realizing that these are people that are, I think they're O'Keefe's people, James O'Keefe. He then goes on the air. This is a crisis. Is the president of the United States compromised? Is he an agent of Russia? Is this treason? Who is running the White House? Trump or Putin? The division that this caused, the hatred that this caused, the panic that this caused, the damage, the irreparable damage to our country by pushing this hoax and this lie that he knew to be a lie. Mark, shouldn't Van Jones be fired as well? What say you?
I say that if he's lying, which he is, then the FCC goes and say, hey, sorry, this person is doing this in your organization. We're going to take your license away from you.
Mark, amen. You nailed it. Amen. This is my point. If what Jimmy Kimmel did was horrible, and I agree it was, to the point that, you blatantly lie, you're lying to the American people, to push political propaganda. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, listen now to Chuck U. Schumer, who ran on to This Is CNN to say, yep, pushing the latest conspiracy theory, it was Trump. It was President Trump and his allies who pushed the FCC to go after Jimmy Kimmel for his comments on Charlie Kirk, and that this is a fundamental violation of the First Amendment. It's what dictators do. Roll cut 11. Mike.
It is outrageous. It's a page right out of Xi's playbook. This is just despicable, disgusting, and against democratic values. Trump and his allies seem to want to shut down speech that they don't like to hear. That is not what democracies do. That is what autocracies do. And it doesn't matter whether you agree with Kimmel or not. He has the right to free speech. And so it is just outrageous. It is indicative of autocracy, and I am just outraged by it. Again, this is what dictators do. This is what Xi would do. This is what Putin would do. We are not that country.
And they don't stop. They don't stop. Trump's, he didn't call him Hitler. Notice, they kind of got the memo on that. They're like, nah, let's not do the Nazi Hitler thing. We're getting just blowback like hell on it. But okay, so he's a dictator. There's a dictatorship, autocracy, strongman rule. Really? Okay. Tell me, Chucky. Tell me, Chuck. Did, you're complaining now about Jimmy Kimmel. Tell me, did you complain when Roseanne was fired by ABC? I'm just curious for comments that she made about Valerie Jarrett on social media. It wasn't even a monologue. It wasn't even a rant on live television. No. It was just on her own personal social media when she went after Valerie Jarrett and made some, let's put it this way, some off-color comments. No, you supported it. You said it was great that ABC had an obligation, you said, to get rid of that kind of hate speech and to get Roseanne fired. So you had no problem when it was a conservative who, by the way, made ABC money, unlike Jimmy, the #1 rated show on ABC. This guy was the worst rated show on ABC. This guy lost them millions and millions and millions every year. So let me get this straight now. ABC has no First Amendment rights? Nexstar doesn't have First Amendment rights? The affiliates, those that own these ABC affiliated stations who didn't want them anymore? What, Disney now? So what, Disney can't fire anybody if they don't like what they say? So no matter how outrageous, how inflammatory, how incendiary, how false, how mendacious, how dangerous, how reckless and irresponsible someone says, that no, they have to just know, according to you, if they're anti-Trumpers. And in full disclosure, last point, this is what I find disgusting about these Democrats. In full disclosure, why didn't CNN ask him, and why didn't he volunteer that Schumer's staff has been coordinating with Kimmel's people for years in their so-called jokes? That Kimmel's comedy routine at night, the monologues, they got their material from Schumer's people. So basically, you're pleading for your own guy. You phony, you fraud, you. And then again, here. So the murder of Charlie Kirk wasn't enough? You guys don't even miss a beat. Hey, they haven't buried him yet. You couldn't wait till he was buried on Sunday? You can't wait? Already. Dictatorship. Threat to democracy. This is Putin. This is Xi. This is Hit. Oh, I can't say that. Okay. Don't say Hitler. This is Putin. This is Xi. So again, you're Bill in Sudbury and you're watching CNN and you're like, wow, oh my God, Trump's a dictator. Trump's a dictator. Someone's got to take him out. Oh my God, he's taken away our freedoms. He's taken away freedom of speech. He's shutting down anybody who disagrees with him. It's exactly this rhetoric, exactly what he just spewed, that got Charlie Kirk killed. That's not enough? You want more people killed? So when you cancel people, that's okay. When the left does it to conservatives, to millions of us, it's okay. But when ABC looks at a ratings loser and a money loser who openly mocked the murder of a peaceful, innocent man, suddenly, oh, Disney can't touch him. Or ABC, oh my God, oh no. The First Amendment says don't touch Jimmy Kimmel. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Joe in Abington. Thanks for holding, Joe, and welcome.
I am Charlie Kirk.
God bless you, Joe.
Jeff, thank you. I want that to be the battle cry. Every listener who calls in shall say, they are Charlie Kirk, because you are him, I am him. I cried for days, not huge, but so sad for his wife and kids. But my question is, do you remember that law in 2014 that somehow Barack got the law canceled because he stuck it in legislation secretly?
Yes.
I believe. I don't even know that.
Yes,
the
the Smith-Mundt
law?
Act. That's what it's called, the Smith-Mundt Act. It's one of the most important acts of the 20th century. By the way, Smith-Mundt is M-U-N-D-T. Smith-Mundt Act, which prohibited the American government, including the media, from using propaganda or deliberately lying to the American people. It was passed in 1948. By the way, bipartisan, both Republicans and Democrats. And it was Obama. You're right. In the dark of night, he hardly anybody noticed. He rescinded it. He repealed it. And ever since then, if you've noticed, the media now has run wild. Blatantly lying, outrageously lying. All they do is push disinformation, misinformation, lies. Literally lies. And so Mike Lee, Senator Mike Lee, has now introduced legislation with the full support of Trump to bring back the Smith-Mundt Act and to rename it the exact same provisions, but just rename it the Charlie Kirk Act. And I'm supporting it 1,000%. We have to bring it back. That's the only way to control these people. Joe, please, final word to you.
It created the whole 2015 up till now, 2025. When you listen to CNN, they would say, anonymous sources report. They did that for years. No, they were just making up stories.
They literally made it up. No, you're right. It was Van Jones in the back making it up. I'm not kidding. They made it up. That's what I mean. Undercover video. He admits it. He goes, oh, it's nothing. It's just all BS. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me ask all of you. It is the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's quality roofing, siding, and windows. Is the era of late night comedy television over? With now the indefinite suspension of Jimmy Kimmel, and he's going to break his contract, or he's going to leave his contract. It's apparently it's going to happen any moment now. So they're meeting with ABC. So he's done. The show is done. He's done. Jimmy Kimmel will no longer be at ABC. It's inevitable. His show has been indefinitely preempted, and he now is telling everybody he wants out of his contract with ABC. So with the downfall of Jimmy Kimmel, and of course they pushed out Stephen Colbert, he'll be out next year. Are we now seeing the end of late night comedy television? Is the era of late night comedy TV over? A, yes. B, no. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN as in national ER. You can also vote via X. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, KUHN as in national ER, at the Kuhner Report. Personally, I think it's over. If I was voting, I would probably vote. I would vote B. Sorry, I would vote A. Yes. I think it's over. It didn't have to be over. Had they just stayed sane and followed the Johnny Carson model, or even the Jay Leno model, I think late night TV would still be thriving. People want to cap their day with a fun, light show, laugh a little bit, maybe see a few interviews, watch a couple of comedians, just have some lighthearted fun before they go to sleep. I think there's still an appetite out there, but it's obvious they've gone to a different model, a hard left politicized model, and it has been an absolute disaster and failure. The ratings suck. The ratings have tanked for a long time. There's no advertisers. There's no money. There's nothing. And so, with exceptions here or there, like Greg Gutfeld, pretty much late night TV comedy, to me anyway, is dead. But that's me. I want to hear from you. 617-266-6868. Okay. Very, very quickly. There was an absolute brilliant text that I want to share with all of you. You can text the Kuhner Man, 70470, 70470, and this is from 781. Jeff, a real journalist would have asked Chuck Schumer this question, quote, Senator Schumer, if what you say is true, that is, President Trump actually pressured ABC to cancel Jimmy Kimmel's show, of which there is no evidence, but rather only speculation, how would it be different than when then President Biden, certainly with mountains of paper trails and evidence to prove and corroborate it, coerced all social media to block, remove, and ban any mention of the dangers of the COVID jab or the veracity of Hunter Biden's infamous laptop or the stolen 2020 election or the government's involvement with January 6th. Why did you not object then to the quote-unquote behavior of a dictator, as you called it? Brilliant. They have no evidence, because it didn't happen, that Trump somehow picked up the phone and called ABC and called Disney and called Nexstar and said, you gotta fire this guy. I'm a dictator. Take him out. Cancel him. Okay, none whatsoever. They're just literally making this up. But we have text message after text message, receipt after receipt. In fact, you have staffers that worked for Biden, aides, corroborating it, that they ordered big tech. They ordered Facebook, Twitter. I can run down the whole line. Anybody who talked about how dangerous the COVID jab was, some of its adverse side effects, censored, out, censored. The infamous laptop from hell, that it wasn't Russian disinformation, it was Hunter Biden's email, Hunter Biden's laptop, censored, deplatformed, no problem. The FBI's involvement in January 6th, censored. You see, then it was okay when Joey went after his political opponents and literally suppressed the truth and truthful dissent and brought the full weight of the federal government to have people after person after person after person censored, canceled, literally taken off social media, and have the FBI in some cases investigate, harass, and persecute and jail these people. Schumer didn't say a word. Schumer didn't say a word. In fact, he spread Biden's lies. But now, when ABC takes action against this buffoon and clown who openly mocked and lied about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, all of a sudden, this is Putin, this is a dictatorship. Get lost. You're a gas bag. Okay? You're a puffed up windbag. That's all you are. Seriously. No one's buying your BS anymore. I think that's what the Democrats don't understand. We don't even care what you have to say anymore. We're telling you to your face, your days of political, cultural power are over. They're over. 617-266-6868. Cal in Newburyport. Thanks for holding, Cal, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Cal.
Hi, Jeff. I have to disagree with you respectfully on the issue that you just talked about. I do believe that the only reason they let Dr. Carlson go is because they do see the writing on the wall. And Trump is somewhat responsible for it, only not in the way that he picked up the phone and made a phone call, but because of his agenda. And it's nothing new. It's the same old. Here we go again with face-to-face confrontation with the hard left. And I think you're a little naive in that, like me, you want to believe in the goodness of people. But I don't believe they're good, the people over Carlson.
Sorry, are you talking about Tucker Carlson or are you talking about Jimmy Kimmel?
No. I'm talking about Jimmy Kimmel. Sorry.
Okay.
No, they didn't let him go because they finally had it with him or the ratings were too low. They've been putting up with all of that. It's their agenda. So in that regard, I think you're a little naive, and I do think Trump is partly responsible. I'm glad, but his agenda is to change things, and as we all know, and we want the changes, but the left doesn't. So I just wanted to reiterate that I think you keep leaning towards a little bit of the naive attitude that somehow Disney and ABC, that they took a turn for the better. I don't think so. I think they want to survive. Literally, they want to survive.
No, Cal, I agree. And if I'm giving that impression that I'm misspeaking, no, look, as I mentioned earlier in the show, but this bears repeating, they were confronted by Brendan Carr, who's now the chairman of the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission. And Brendan Carr told Disney and ABC, look at what he said, Jimmy Kimmel. He said, that's a lie. He blatantly lied. And not only did he blatantly lie, he's literally mocking the assassination of an innocent man. And this is clearly incitement. This is more incitement to violence. And we at the FCC are not going to tolerate this anymore. And so he told ABC, you're going to lose your broadcasting license. So they had a choice. Now, they went to Jimmy Kimmel just to show you how stupid Kimmel is and how hateful he is. Okay, and this is really suicide, professional suicide. ABC went to Kimmel and said, you got to apologize. Like, if you apologize and you make a full retraction, then I think we can get the FCC off our back. And Kimmel said, absolutely not. Because according to him, he said, I don't want to give MAGA that victory. Now, let me be honest with you. If Kimmel came on the air and apologized, say he did it Tuesday, okay, he said what he said on Monday evening, it was then huge. It was huge. The pressure was building. The FCC by Tuesday morning had already contacted ABC and Disney. Had by Tuesday evening, Kimmel come out and said, listen, look, I was wrong. I was insensitive. I never should have said this. I deeply apologize. I have nothing but the highest respect for Kirk's family, and I would never say anything to hurt his wife and his children, and we all have to come together as a country, and I retract everything what I said. And he just said that, okay? He'd have a job today. He would still be doing a show. That would be enough to get the FCC to back off, and ABC would have stuck with the guy. You're completely right on that score. And honestly, I wouldn't have cared. And what I mean by I wouldn't have cared is I would have been very upset at what he said. But I wouldn't have been like, we're gloating, like MAGA is gloating. Like, yeah, we got Kimmel to apologize. We got him to retract. No, what I would say, and I'm sure 99.9% of the audience would be saying is, he just said it to save his bacon. He just said it to salvage his hide. That's all. These are crocodile tears. This is a fake apology. We wouldn't be like thinking, oh, this is some big victory over Jimmy Kimmel. But in his own warped, egotistical mind. See, this is what happens when you're blinded by hate. You can't see, you can't reason, you can't think properly. He was thinking, no, this is what he told his agents. I'm not giving MAGA this victory. So no apology, no retraction. Okay. So by last night, first it was Nexstar. And the moment I saw Nexstar dump him, those are some of the biggest markets in the country. They own some of these ABC stations. I said, he's finished. I go watch now. ABC News is going to cut him off at the knees. And within an hour or whatever, half an hour, ABC came out, Disney came out, and he was finished. So in other words, Cal, what happened was ABC was now confronted. This was their choice. Either we lose our broadcasting license or we cut loose Jimmy Kimmel. To me, they made the same decision. This guy's not worth the network. And what I'm trying to say is, and plus he makes them no money. They lose money. And he brings in no ratings. You know, it's not like the old days. Say he was Johnny Carson. He'd be like, I mean, you know, Johnny brings in a ton of cash. My God. I mean, you know, NBC at the time he was with NBC. My God, you know, NBC, when people think NBC, they think Johnny Carson. Like that's, you know, I mean, you're going to fight like hell for that guy. No ratings, nothing. So they were confronted. Either it's your license, literally your ability to be on the air, or it's Jimmy Kimmel. They made the obvious choice. It's our license. Jimmy's got to go. So in that sense, you're right. Trump exerted influence and leverage, but it wasn't him. It was the FCC. And the FCC, Trump gave the FCC a mandate. He goes, I want you to clean up the moral sewer that now we see on television and in our popular culture. And that's why Brendan Carr told him, there's a new sheriff in town. This stuff's not going to fly anymore. Cal, final word to you.
Well, thanks, Jeff, for clarifying that for me and explaining the FCC's role a little more. And I do feel strongly that freedom is never free, and I still see, you know, the wickedness and the danger in like the networks. And even though Trump is influencing, and I'm all for it, but freedom is never free, and I feel like we're never going to be able to let our guard down. But we're moving in the right direction, and I hope and pray it continues. And I love your show. I listen to you all the time.
Cal, a very good call. Really, thank you for that call. It was an excellent call. And thank you again for your warm words. 617-266-6868. No, look, she's right. I've never seen this. I have never lived through a time, except the 80s under Reagan. But it's been a while now where we're pushing the agenda now. And I don't mean politically, I mean culturally. You know, like now universities are reacting to us. Schools are reacting to us. Hospitals are reacting to us. Businesses are really reacting to us. Hollywood is reacting to us. Entertainment is reacting to us. And because they're on their heels, they're on the defensive. Because something has changed in the country. Look, let me just very quickly. Since Kirk's assassination, and I'm telling you, it was not just the assassination, it was the reaction, the response. How disgusting, how vile. Republican registrations are exploding across the country. Why do you think the Democrats are now starting to come out? We got to turn down the temperature. Now they're doing the whole both sides are to blame and everybody's got to tone it down. And they're trying to do the whole moral equivalency, moral relativism argument. Nobody buys it anymore. But why are they saying it? Because they're looking at their registration. They're looking at their internal polling. And they're saying, guys, we're getting destroyed. The country sees us now as the party of murder and the party that celebrates murder, political murder. Like, Houston, we have a problem. And that's why so now they're in retreat. They're in real retreat. And Cal is right. We're advancing now. We're moving forward. And look, if I were Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers, I'd be very careful. Very careful. Very careful. Because their days could be numbered now as well. In other words, late night comedy, period. 617-266-6868. Sal in Billerica. Thanks for holding, Sal, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. The outrage and the memory loss, selective memory of the deranged left is amazing, like Schumer. When Bill O'Reilly, Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson were all let go and canceled for commentary that they made, controversial commentary, where were they? And they were making huge money for Fox, great ratings, all of them, and I could go on. But where were they? Did Schumer say anything about
that's a magnificent point.
All these people?
Oh, Sal, magnificent point. And just to nail down Tucker in particular, and the only reason why I'm singling out Tucker, he had the highest ratings at the time in the history of Fox News. He brought him in bucket loads of money, maximum revenue. And why did they fire him? He didn't say anything wrong. If you remember, he just showed tape of January 6th. Literally what they were doing in the halls. He only showed a couple minutes. In other words, they fired him for the truth, not for lying. It's like, look, they're claiming it was this big insurrection. It was violent. He goes, but look at how they were behaving, the J6ers inside the hallways. Look at them shaking the hands of the police officers. Look at the police officers guiding them throughout Congress. Like, hey, look at this. Hey, look at this picture. Hey, look at this. So he says the whole narrative is false. Look at the tape. So for exposing and unmasking the truth, for showing the tape, and it was like barely 2 minutes of the tape. That's it. I know I keep saying it, but it's true. Jeff, you're a broken record. Well, I'm sorry. It's the truth. I don't know what else to tell you. 9:20 now on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. I want to give a big hat tip to Mary. Mary, thank you so much. She messaged me this clip from NBC News, where they played Schumer on the Senate floor. And this was the day after Tucker Carlson, famously released some of the video footage of January 6th. And I'm almost paraphrasing now, word for word, verbatim. This was outrageous. Carlson showed that January 6th wasn't a violent insurrection. That's a lie. It's a lie that could get people killed. And so he goes on. I'm urging Fox. I'm urging Rupert Murdoch. You can't let him play this again. You have to stop him. He then calls for Tucker Carlson's resignation because he played clips of what happened inside the Capitol building. In other words, the truth that destroyed the Democrats' entire narrative. So, you see, when Fox pushed Tucker out, and he did nothing, literally, he did nothing wrong. He actually, as a journalist, he did his job. They loved it. They loved it. Oh my God, they loved it. Every Democrat cheered it. CNN loved it. MSNBC loved it. The entire media loved it. Every freaking moonbat, every so-called progressive liberal, they loved it. Now that Jimmy gets his comeuppance, this is Putin. This is he. This is a dictatorship. Okay, no one's buying it anymore. You phony, you fraud, you. My God. Honestly, if they didn't have double standards, they'd have no standards. Mark in Burlington. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
My pleasure.
Colbert down and, Kimmel down. Well, one thing that disgusts me is the no response to TMZ's blatant, disgusting lie to their staff who cheered at the moment that Charlie Kirk's death was announced. I've heard a lot of things about but nothing was so blatant and disgusting to me to hear that they had a car chase, that they found something funny in a car chase to laugh at the exact same moment. Your thoughts?
Oh, they're lying. It's obvious they're lying. No, they heard that he had been killed, and like a lot of these moonbats, especially, honestly, younger, like more the younger generation, there's this new shocking poll out. Generation Z, millennials, over a third. That basically those, 20 to 35 or 18 to 35, that age group. So they polled liberals, progressives, Democrats, whatever you want to call them. So they, those on the left, the younger ages, the Gen Z and the millennials, over a third, in some cases over 40%.
As we were reporting the assassination of Charlie Kirk, there were some people in the back room away from our news desk here who were watching a car chase, and they were laughing, they were clapping, and you could hear it out here. And we want to make a couple of things clear. One is that I know these people, and they were not laughing, they were not reacting that way about Charlie Kirk's assassination. They were not. They would not work here if they did.
And that being said, we acknowledge that it was horrible timing. And for that, we are sorry.
We apologize. We apologize that you had to hear that.
And I get why, if you're watching the stream, you may have felt that that's what the laughter was about. We assure you it was not about that, but it was horrible timing.
I don't believe him. He's lying. He's lying through his teeth. He's lying through his teeth. And just to finish my point, Mark, just very quickly, 1/3, in some cases over 40%, literally say that political violence is justified. But that political murder, to kill someone because you disagree with them, because of their views, because they're conservative, or they support Trump, or they're MAGA, yeah, it's the right thing to do. It's okay. Go ahead, do it. And that's the crowd that works at TMZ, and that's mostly the crowd that watches TMZ. And by the way, just to your point, and it's an excellent point, what's funny about a car crash? Like, what is there to laugh at? What is there to be clapping about? So even their cover story doesn't make sense. Now, to give the devil his due, okay, and this guy is, to me, it's demonic. He's at least smart enough, unlike Kimmel, to go, ooh, the FCC is going to barrel down on us. Like, ooh, we may lose our show, guys. Ooh, okay, so let's come up with a BS cover story. Okay, so fine. At least he's smart enough to realize we crossed the line. Now we just got to lie. Kimmel, he's so dumb. Like, Jimmy, you got to apologize. I'm not giving MAGA this victory. Okay, bye-bye. So I'm with you, Mark. Look, what TMZ did was unforgivable. It's beyond the pale. It's sickening. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Whatever you think of Charlie Kirk, look, if Jimmy Kimmel, God forbid, was assassinated, I wouldn't laugh. I wouldn't clap. I wouldn't go on the air and say, he had it coming. Some dancing on his grave. Yeah, one down, more to go. He's a father. He's a husband. He's got kids. He's a human being, for God's sake. TMZ should pay the price. I'm with you all the way, Mark. This incredible audience just keeps delivering. I'm telling you, it's amazing. And we're going to play it. Okay, we just got it. Mike is going to process it into the computer. It's Jimmy Kimmel in 2023. And it's the day after Tucker Carlson was forced out from Fox. And Kimmel is openly celebrating that Tucker Carlson, according to Kimmel, Kimmel says he was fired. And he's cheering, and the crowd is cheering. So, don't cry for Jimmy Kimmel. And to all these liberals and leftists. So, it's okay when Fox got rid of Tucker, right? That was okay. You didn't argue about that. It wasn't the First Amendment issue then. You weren't going on about free speech, the First Amendment. This is the beginning of a dictatorship. No. Well, Jimmy Kimmel, what comes around goes around. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just very quickly, this is a really, really good text message. You can text the Kuhner Man 70470, 70470. This is from 508. Jeff, and I think really nails it. Late night comedy television is a misnomer. It's not comedy, Jeff. It's political ridicule and insults combined with lies to try and get laughs from the trained seals in the audience when the applause sign lights up. Bingo. Bingo. It's political ridicule and insults. The only thing I would add is it's left-wing or it's anti-Trump, anti-conservative political ridicule and insults combined with lies. That's really what so-called, late-night comedy television has degenerated into. Now, just very quickly, I wanted to play it yesterday, but I'm going to play it now. And the reason why is something has changed, as I said, in our country, in our society, in our culture. Conservatives now are pushing back, speaking out, standing up to Democrats, leftists, Marxists, to those on the left in a way that I haven't seen in at least 30, 35 years. Kash Patel. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Did Kash Patel, FBI director, did he put on a show in Congress or what? You want to talk about eviscerating Democrats. So, yesterday he was in front of the House and he took down Eric Swalwell, saying his whole career in Congress, I can't say it, was bull crap. BS, Bravo Sierra, I can't say it. But the day before, he was in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. And he got into a heated argument. So he goes on against, he literally brought Senator Cory Booker. I am Spartacus. He sent him into a meltdown, defending the FBI's record, how they've been reducing crime, cracking down on pedophilia. Anyway, and Booker couldn't handle it. And Kash gave it to him with both barrels. Roll cut 18B, Mike.
That rant of false information does not bring this country together. If you want to work on bringing this country, it's my time, not yours.
My God.
If you want to talk about
dividing this country,
it is
I
my
follow
time.
you on your social media posts that
it
tear
is my
this country
time
apart.
To address your falsehoods.
Oh,
you are an
you can try all
to the
you
division
want
in this country.
to not take responsibility for what you have said.
Time.
Sir, you're making a mockery of this committee. Sir, you don't tell me my time is over.
You
the people of New Jersey tell me what my time is. You can't lecture me.
You can tell me my time's over.
You may be the charge of the
I'm
FBI,
not going anywhere.
but I am not afraid of you.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm not afraid of you.
I'm not afraid of you. When they say I'm not afraid of you, what that means, they're afraid of you. I am Spartacus. I mean, and the way Kash Patel did it, I mean, in that deadpan manner of his, no emotion, you know what I mean? Cool, surgical, calm, almost no emotion on his face, just very deadpan. And he's just ripping into him. Listen now to this exchange with Adam Schiff. Because, they're going on about how come it took 33 hours to arrest the shooter of Charlie Kirk. I'm like, guys, they got him by Thursday evening. The assassination was Wednesday evening. How much faster you want these guys to go? Like, don't make up stuff just to make it seem like he's incompetent. Like trying to pretend like he's incompetent. No, they got him within about 24 hours. Like, what are you talking to me about? Anyway, Adam Schiff now is trying to claim that the FBI is in complete disarray because of Kash Patel. And Kash Patel gives it right to him. This was beautiful. He spoke for everybody. Kash delivered. The whole country on this one. Roll cut 18A, Mike.
The American people to believe that? Do you think they're stupid?
No. I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of
you're not in
inmates.
the weeds?
What I am doing is protecting this country, providing historic reform, and combating the weaponization of intelligence by the likes of you. And we have countlessly proven you to be a liar in Russiagate, in January 6th. You are the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate. You are a disgrace to this institution and an utter coward.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised that you continue to lie from your perch and put on a show so you can go raise money for your charade. You are a political buffoon at best.
Well, you can take an internet troll.
Take it to the bank that the FBI is protecting this country and the state and citizens of California.
The biggest fraud to ever be in Congress. Sorry, in the Senate. You're a political buffoon at best. You're a liar. I mean, I'm like, go Kash, go baby. And that's what's changed. Never would you have heard an FBI director fight back like that. Any FBI director, but certainly a Republican FBI director, fight back against the Democrats like this. Their lies, their demonization, their vilification, their propaganda, their misinformation, just their viciousness. And that's what's changed. Kash took them on head on. One after another after another. And that's what you're seeing now all across the country. Conservatives are now finally speaking up and standing up. They're speaking out, standing up, and the left can't handle it. You know, they're like a bully. They're like a bully. You punch them once, politically, ideologically. You punch them once on the jaw, right in the mouth. They start melting down like Cory Booker. Cheryl in Topsfield. Thanks for holding, Cheryl, and welcome.
Jeff, I looked up what Kimmel said, and I didn't like it when he said, this is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he calls a friend. This is how a 4-year-old.
Did we lose Cheryl? Oh, we're going to... Okay, Cheryl, please hang on. Okay, we're going to go to Cheryl in Topsfield, but before we do, listen now. This is this was Jimmy Kimmel. This was the show, his show, right after it was announced that Tucker Carlson had essentially been pushed out. What do you want to call it? Fired, however, that Fox had now pushed out and fired Tucker Carlson for daring to show the videotapes from the January 6 cameras. Listen to Kimmel. Roll the cut, Mike.
Fox News has severed bow ties with Tucker Carlson. After all these years, they are parting ways, which means he was fired. I mean, that's really what parting ways means. Tucker couldn't be reached for comment. He's already on a plane to Moscow to meet with his manager. But what a shock. I mean, what an absolutely delightful shock this is.
Now, we didn't want to play the rest. He goes on, and I'm going to really clean it up. It's extremely vulgar. How Tucker Carlson is going to be going to suntan so he can suntan his testicles. He's going to go, hopefully he'll go back to where he came from through I got to clean it up, through the butthole of the devil. Okay? And that's just a taste. This is not funny. This is disgusting. This is pure hate. So, but my point is, where was Chuck Schumer? When Tucker got let go, nobody cried for the First Amendment. Jimmy Kimmel was dancing on Tucker Carlson's professional grave. Now he's saying he's the victim. You didn't mind when Fox let go Tucker Carlson for telling the truth, unlike you. Okay, very quickly, I want to go to Cheryl. Cheryl is referencing the second thing that Kimmel said. The first thing that got him fired was claiming the shooter was MAGA, which was a lie. But then it was the second thing where he starts to mock Trump and mock Trump supporters. Roll cut 8A, Mike.
In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
I mean, it's disgusting. By the way, Trump is basically trying to signal we have to move on as a country. We can't stand still. We have to continue. I mean, we got to continue building and expanding and just, the country has to move on. And look at his scumbag. Just look at that. I mean, and he's asking himself why he got fired. Okay, let's go right back to Cheryl in Topsfield. Cheryl, you were saying this in particular really enraged you. Please pick up where you left off.
Yes, he said this is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he calls a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish. Highly disrespectful. Also, I sent you a link to a video on YouTube about the cell phone gun that this guy says the video shows Charlie Kirk being shot from the right-hand side of where Charlie was sitting. The bullet, it shows the flash of the cell phone as if it's taking a picture. The woman next to him flinches when he shoots the gun, and you are seeing a video looking from Charlie's left side, and you see the...
Ugh. Cheryl, I need more time. I just need more time. Well, look, I think the autopsy report is going to come out either today or tomorrow. So a lot of questions that people still have, hopefully, are going to be fully answered.